Before this lesson, we spent time focusing on what a solution is and how to come across a solution, dealing with all types of equations. We've used the distributive property, variables on both sides, combining like terms, and now I will incorporate all types of equations, including ones that have no solution or all numbers as solutions. Along with this, I didn't get into it within this lesson, but the lessons leading up and the lessons that will follow will have more real-world applications dealing with, word problems that would likely have an equation that you could use to solve it. From the 8th grade Common Core standards, I focused in on the standard that dealt with solving equations that have no solution or infinite number of solutions. This was the new topic, or this would be the first time that I used that specific standard with this class. Prior, leading up to this, we used the standards that dealt with solving equations with one variable and solving equations with real number coefficients.
Okay.
To make the lesson reflect the full intent of the standard, I chose equations that they used in their always, sometimes, and never chart that had the whole realm of all three standards that were incorporated. They had equations that they had to apply the distributive property in order to simplify. There were equations that had no solution. There were equations that had all numbers as solutions. There was a variety of equations that had variables on both sides and combining like terms. I also chose equations that some of them that they would be able to use mental math and conceptual understanding, while others looked more complicated on paper. I think this lesson best exemplifies the core action 1, where the lesson reflects where the standards are. So I made sure that I chose a lesson that specifically aligned with the standards that I was trying to teach. My goals for the class also aligned with those. I wanted my students to walk out of here understanding that equations might not just have one solution and be able to explain mathematically why. I also think that I did a good job with core action 3, providing the students with opportunities to exhibit their math, because they were talking about the equations the entire time. They were using mathematical terms. They were answering questions based on their previous knowledge, as well as the knowledge that they got just from the experience in class. I think my students with this lesson did do really well with it. They understood the previous material that they needed to know in order to come up with explanations for why their equations fell within each category. My students in here that often are slow starters or struggle, they were paired up with somebody at their similar ability. So their conversations were very different from my higher level students' conversations. In order to allow this to happen, the equations that I chose for their equation cards varied in difficulty level. So some of the equations were more basic, so I knew that all students in the room would be able to work on this. The class that the lesson was videotaped for is a class of 6th grade students that are in our gifted math program. So they are actually learning 8th grade content, 8th grade level standards. So all of the students in here were working at an 8th grade level. I believe that there was differentiation, but that differentiation actually went towards the students who already knew these concepts to be able to think about being able to explain them mathematically and have an understanding of why the answers are what they are. Overall, I was really pleased with how this lesson went. I think that there was a lot of conceptual understanding coming out of it. I think that I was surprised by how quickly the students grasped when there would be all solutions or when there would be no solution. Thinking about this particular lesson, I would almost want to use it sooner in the unit before we've even realized that each equation might have only one solution. So maybe the placement of it would be different in the future, but overall I was pleased with how it went.